All right, let's go ahead and get started. For those of you that just joined, welcome to today's session on best practices for pick roles and teams as part of the BevAge Encore series. Your presenter today is Keenan. He's got some great content for you today. My name is Jocelyn, and I'm going to be your facilitator. We want to make this session as interactive as possible, so please put any questions you have throughout the session today in that Q&A, and we'll make sure we get them answered. And with that, I'm going to hand you off to Keenan.
Awesome, sweet. Thank you so much, Jossie. Alrighty, so welcome to the best practices for pick rules and teams. My name is Keenan Winkler. I'm a customer support engineer here at Encompass Technologies. I've been here for about 3 years and kind of been on different operations teams, whether that be logistics, WMS, production. So I'm kind of excited to get into this topic here today. So for our agenda, we're going to do an overview of the table structure, a hands-on lab scenario, and then a summary and Q&A here at the very end. Before we jump in here to our presentation, I kind of want to set the scene. So in our example today, it is that my distributor has acquired gummies, and these gummy products are a little bit different than our regular product portfolio. We need to have different people operating these, perhaps because they are different products, they need to be stored behind lock and key, and only a few folks at the distributor will have access to that lock and key. So as we're kind of going through this example, just keep in mind that these are a little bit different products than what we would say are our typical products. So first thing is going to be our pallet types. Pallet types are the physical pallets and products, are the physical pallets that products will be built on. So if we have different pallets, we can decide the build height, width, length, and then the weight that that pallet can actually hold. So from within here, if we're going to be coming in and we're going to be creating new pallet types, we need to make sure that we have our dimensions correct. So in our example of our gummies, perhaps these gummies are going to be coming on a little bit of a different size. So for in this example, we're going to be using our carts pallet type example. Alrighty, so load groups. Load groups in Encompass are used to group together products that are loaded and shipped together. That is key here. So for our gummy products, we don't want those being put on, let's say, a pallet of beer, pallet of wine or spirits. We want those to be dedicated to just those gummy products. So for that reason, we want to go ahead and create a load group. So just below, you'll see that we have our load group. We do connect that to our pallet type. Again, how do we want to physically build those pallets? Pick multi-customer pallets by product. I do want to call this one out here. We do set this to true. What this means is that if we're going to be picking this product, and again, in our example, these are gummies, so they're behind lock and key. Do we want to have our pickers go there each time, doing this for each invoice, or do we want to send them there one time and pick each invoice for every customer for that given product? In this example, we don't want our guys going back and forth, locking and unlocking, so we're going to set this to true. So just kind of a call out there. Pallet process action. So do we want to go ahead and print that pick sheet? Do we not want to? Do we want to go ahead and use ePick? If we're using ePick, then there would be no action. Pallet pick complete action. Are we going to print? Are we not going to print? If we're doing ePick, then there's going to be no need to go ahead and print, but different scenarios are going to call for different actions there. Lastly, the refresh pick bin on assign. We did set this to false. I do want to call this out though. If we do set this to true, what that means is that we're going to go back to that bin, we're going to refresh it, and we're going to ensure that that bin has inventory before sending pickers to pick it. So that's going to be our load groups here. So what makes up a load group? A pallet type. So again, that's going to be determining the dimensions that that pallet is being built for, and then specify a specific pallet type on that load group. Pick multiple customer pallets by product. This is again what we just discussed. If we're going to be sending our pickers there, do we want them to get all that product at once for each invoice for every customer, or do we want them to go back customer by customer? And then pallet process action. Are we going to be paper picking? If yes, then we need to go ahead and make sure that that pick sheet is printed. If we're going to be e-picking, then there's going to be no need to go ahead and assign that. Alrighty, pick methods. So with a pick method, we do see that we have attached it to a load group. Pick methods determine how a product needs to be picked. So if we assign it to a load group, which is again how we pick our product, how we group them together, then we need to decide how we're going to be palletizing that. So we're going to be doing pallets, layers, and cases. Perhaps we're doing something a little bit different. In our example with gummies, perhaps we only want to be doing cases. Perhaps we don't want to be building pallets of this product just because simply we're not picking enough to build pallets. So we want to do cases only. Just kind of a call out there on the palletized section. Palletized by customer men cases. This is basically describing, do we want to go ahead and palletize by a minimum amount of cases? Do we want to ensure that we're picking enough? And then e-pick, is this going to be set to true or false? Are we e-picking or are we paper picking? And then if we do have any conveyor customers, are we going to be using a conveyor, true or false? For the exception, not the rule. Most of the time, this is going to be set to false. But again, for our conveyor customers, we want to go ahead and ensure that this is set to true. So what makes up a pick method? That's made up again by our load groups. How are we going to be grouping these products together? How are we going to be palletizing? Are we going to be doing layers cases or just cases for certain situations, such as our gummies here today? And are we going to be e-picking or are we going to be paper picking? If we're paper picking, we need to make sure that we are printing those pick sheets. Alrighty, so lastly are our pick rules. Pick rules determine which pick method will be used for picking products. So for pick rules, I do want to call out location. This is going to be a location-specific pick rule. So if we have, in our example here, Jackson and Gulfport, we need to ensure that both of these locations have a pick rule for our given product. So in our example today, for our gummies, if we're only keeping them in one location, then there's no need to assign a pick rule to the other location that does not yet have this product. Do we want to set it for a certain route type? And also, do you want to have a customer pick type? We can set that on our customer record. So if we're going to be going through and we understand that certain customers need to be picked differently, we can go ahead and assign that here. For close dated, is this something that we're going to want to be looking at? We can set this to true. And what this means is that we're going to be looking at our close dated bins to ensure that we're picking the proper product. And then bin zone. Bin zone is going to be ensuring that we are looking at bins within that bin zone. And so for our examples of gummies, we want to make sure that our bin zone is going to be in a secured behind lock and key bin zone. So that's where our gummy products will be living. And then lastly, the pick method assigned to that pick rule. So what makes up pick rules? Location, the location that pick rule will be affecting during palletization. Customer pick type. This is a subset of customers that are tied to a pick method. And then the pick method itself. And this is what is assigned to the pick rule to dictate which load group, again, that's how we're grouping our products together, are used. All right, so pick teams. Pick rules determine which pick methods are used for picking products. So our pick teams here, we can go ahead and set. We can set if we want pick and pass to be false or if we want this to be true. With pick and pass, this is saying, are we going and are we picking products? So for example, are we going to our gummy products, picking these and then assigning this to the next pick team? For our gummy example, perhaps we want to set this to true. Perhaps we only want our gummy pick teams to be grabbing just gummy products and then setting the rest of the pallet to the rest of the pick teams. And then pallet assign method, this is going to be how are we assigning this pallet? Any method is going to be our default, and the reason for this is if we're going through and we're palletizing, we want to make sure that our pick teams are getting these e-picks sent directly to them.
Keenan, I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
If we're setting by customer, can it be determined by customer type, such as grocery, convenience, or on-premise?
You could create a customer pick type around those rules, and then again, create a subset of customers, and then have that customer pick type set for those customers. So, yep, exactly. We kind of go ahead and set a customer pick type to capture that customer type. Does that kind of help answer that question there?
I think so, but if I get any others, I'll let you know.
Awesome. Alrighty, so this is going to be our data model. So starting off, we have pick rules. Followed by pick rules, we have pick methods. Pick rules fall under a location. And then we have our customer pick types, which we were just discussing. We have our bin zones. And again, this is where bins can live. So if we have a bin zone, for our example, with gummies, we're going to have a secured bin zone with bins under that bin zone that are just that, secured. Load groups, how are products going to be grouped together and picked together? Pallet type, what are going to be those physical dimensions of that pallet that we are picking? Pick team pick methods, what is going to be the pick method for the pick team that is being assigned? The pick team itself, and then the employee pick teams. These are the users that we're going to be assigning to that pick team. We also have a route type. For example, we have a lot of transfer customers that we want to ensure that are getting picked maybe a little bit differently than we would have other customers. And then routes. Under customer pick type, we have our customers. Again, it's going to be that subset of customers that fall under a customer pick type. If we have a certain customer type that we want to ensure is always picked consistently, we could create a customer pick type that resembles that name, and then again, assign it to that subset of customers. We have a product pick type that flows through to the products. And then again, as we discussed, our bin zones with our bins. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump on the BevAge site here, and we're going to go through a quick demo and take a look at these pick rules. So from Delivery Optimizer here, I do have, if I go ahead and click this plus sign, this will also apply pick rules, but we can see that we have the Krusty Pirate that does have our gummies, and they have 45 cases of these gummies. So if we go ahead and hit palletize, all right, we will go ahead and process these. Okay. And now if we go ahead and we open up this invoice, okay, we can see our WMS pick rule used was 261. And if we look at 261, this is going to be for our secured product bin zone. So again, who has lock and key. And then our pick method is going to be BevAge gummies. So if we also go ahead and jump into our pick rules here real quick. We can see that the bin living under our bin zone for secured products is this one right here. We can go ahead and set a case capacity, and this is where our pick teams would be directed to go ahead and pick that product. So pretty cool. I do wish that we could go ahead and demonstrate those pick teams actually grabbing that product. That would be pretty cool. But from here, we would go ahead and create an e-pick. Those pick teams would get the designation to go pick that product. And then from there, they would do their pick and pass if that was set to true. So again, we can look at our invoice transaction, see our WMS pick rule being 261, investigate our pick rule, and see our bin zone and our pick method used. And then our pick method is also assigned to our BevAge gummies load group. So that way, again, we are only building pallets with our BevAge gummies. We're not putting them on there with beer, spirits, or possibly wine products, just our gummy products. And then lastly, our pallet type. So how are we going to be physically building these pallets? In this situation, we're going to be going to a build height of 57, a width of 18, a length of 57, and a weight of that pallet being 45 pounds. And then bay height is how we're going to be using for our calculation method. So we can see as our pallet types flow into our load groups flow into our pick methods, and then our pick methods flow into our pick rules. Again, as we palletize and we process, these will be sent to our pick teams to go ahead and pick that product. And then lastly, we have happy customers when they receive those. So from there, you should be pretty good to go. Hopefully that truck comes back with no returns. We can go ahead and return the truck, verify this load sheet, and call it a day. All right, so a quick summary. Products can be picked separately. Again, these are going to be through our pick rules and through our load groups. We can define who can pick which products, again, by creating our employee pick teams and then assigning those users to those pick teams to ensure, again, only maybe certain people who have the access to those products can pick those products. And then bringing the puzzle pieces together, us going through that demo, looking here at our load groups, looking how those flow into our pallet types, our pick methods, and then lastly, our pick rules. So if we have any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask those guys now.
Don't see any in here yet. We will stick around for a few minutes here to let you guys put any questions in there. And then while we're waiting for those, I did want to let you guys know that we do have quite a few BevAge Encore sessions still coming up. So check out the e-learning dashboard there to sign up for those. And then we also have the recording archive that has any of our past sessions on there as well. If you missed any of them in the last couple of weeks. Once we end the session here, after we answer your guys' questions, there will be a survey that pops up. We would appreciate any feedback that you have about the session. There's also a question if you have any suggestions for any future sessions that you're looking for as well. Go ahead and throw your questions in that Q&A and we'll get them answered for you before we end today. All right, Keaton, I've got one for you. Can a product have multiple pick rules?
A product can have multiple pick rules. For example, if we have a pick rule, let's say that we are not checking those bin inventories. Let's say that we have set that to false. So we go to pick that product. We can't hit that pick rule. We will then flow down. Most of the time we have a catch-all pick rule. If we have a catch-all pick rule, then if the original pick rule that we created does not catch it, then that catch-all pick rule will catch it. And from there, a product can be picked either, let's just say, a priority one. So right as that warehouse gets palletizing, we want to pick that product. Or let's say, again, we don't have bin inventories at that time. We receive a purchase somehow a little bit later in the night, and we get that processed and we get that replenished. From there, we could have our catch-all pick rule, grab that product, and palletize it as we would expect it to be.
I don't see any other questions so far, Keenan. So we'll go ahead and wrap up then. If you have any other last second ones, go ahead and throw them in there. Like I said, check out the recording archive dashboard. This session and all of our past sessions will be on there. And then next week for our BevAge Encore session, we have bin lots and license plates with Mariah, our WMS product manager. So it's another exciting session. Check that one out next week. You can sign up for that on the e-learning dashboard. And I don't see any others, Keenan, so we'll go ahead and end our session for today. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thank you, everybody.